Good morning, Fight Fans. We are live. UFC Prague. Lineups lock in about 1 hour. Wanted to put something out there today, not leave everybody hanging. We've got solid card with another 13 fights here. A lot of line value, as most have seen, but I don't think this is the time to overthink things and get cute. Let your opponents make mistakes. Let's burn through this card. I'll be doing a quick breakdown from Draftkings, from a Draftkings perspective. So, first fight of the night, we have Damir Ismagulov. He came into the UFC, fought, I believe, on an Australian card. He had his opponent hurt a few times, didn't get him out of there. He has a tremendous edge and skill set here. Alvarez, don't buy the 15-1 record on tape. He does not look good. Very flat-footed, gets taken down often, and I think we're going to see Damir roll here. At $9,200, I think he'll be one of the sneakier plays because folks are going to be going higher up to Prazeres, and I think we will see some Jan ownership despite his lack of finishing ability. Although Jan did finish in his last fight, but Dodson's very elusive. Joel Alvarez, 7,000. Folks, you may see people looking to punt. I don't think that's where you want to go. This fight is not supposed to go the distance. Sitting at -140. Next fight up, we're gonna roll. We're gonna burn through these fights real quick. So Kaaba is fighting Diego Ferreira. Ferreira, we know, beat Jared Gordon, and also took out a Canadian fighter in his last fight out. 7,500. Kabilov, 8,700. Kabilov, not the most active fighter, but excellent grappler. This fight should go to a decision. The odds have tightened up significantly to the point where it's almost a pick 'em. I'm actually going to be staying away from this fight. I think that we'll see a few stalemates here, and I don't think we're going to see a sub, but I think Kabilov wins a boring decision here. Next up, we got Michel Prazeres, Trator at 170 pounds, fighting Nordiev, who is coming in on short notice. Nordiev, the cheapest fighter on the card, at 6,800. To make this real quick, I think Prazeres is going to roll. I think he is going to pay off that $9,400 salary. This fight should not go the distance, sitting at -205. Next fight on the card, we have probably the highest owned fighter on the card, Damir Hadzovic, taking on Polo Reyes. Polo Reyes, 8,800. I don't think people are going to be rostering Reyes. Should give you an edge in tournaments, but he's got to get the W. The Bosnian Bomber coming in at 7,400. This fight should be a slobber knocker. It's a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. I may fade the field here in some contests, but, you know, the Bosnian Bomber has a he's fought significant adversity over his first few fights in the UFC, and I think we're going to see him pull this out. I wouldn't be surprised if this does go to a decision, despite the odds suggesting that it's at -185, does not go to a decision. Next up, in the women's 125-pound division, we have Jillian Robertson against Veronica Macedo. Macedo, we know she had a couple of significant challenges in her first 2 UFC fights, namely against Ashley Evans-Smith and Andrea Lee. This fight, Robertson, we know she doesn't possess the greatest stand-up game in the world. We know Din Thomas is not going to be in her corner. Odds have widened a bit. This fight should not go the distance. I'm picking Robertson to win here by submission. I don't think that's a stretch. I think this fight is lined correctly. For 8,600 on DraftKings, I'm curious to see what type of ownership she has, because she's right near Thiago Santos and also Marcus Rogerio de Lima. So I think she's going to garner significant ownership, but my pick is Robertson. Next up, we have a banger of a fight in the men's 145-pound division. Chris Fishhold against Daniel Timur. Don't get him confused with David Timur. Daniel Timur gasses out many of his fights very quickly. Chris Fishgold, I was very impressed with his UFC debut, despite taking a knockout loss to Calvin Kattar. Fishgold sitting at a minus 245 favorite right now, $9,000 price tag. Timur, he does possess fight-ending power, but the other aspects of his game are missing. My pick is Fishgold here at 9,000. I think he is going to pay off that price tag. Next up, we have which should be a fairly close fight. Carlo Pedersoli against Dwight Grant in the men's 170-pound division. This fight should go the distance. Grant comes in at $8,000. He did not impress against Zach Otto in his last fight. Pedersoli, of European descent, flashy fighter, keeps that range. I expect him to do that in this fight as well, coming off of that devastating knockout to Alex Oliveira. But I'm going to pick Pedersoli by decision here. Next up, we have Magomed Ankalaev against Klidson Farias. He's coming in on short notice at 7,100 in DraftKings. Ankalaev 9,100. Odds have closed significantly. Abreu missed weight, came in at 209 pounds. This fight shouldn't go the distance. I see Ankalaev winning by TKO in this fight. Abreu, he's not he doesn't bring the fight to his opponents, and I think that's going to cost him in this fight. Ankalaev has grit in spades. I know we saw him get tapped out with the second left in his fight against the Bear Jew, but I think Ankalaev rolls in this spot at 9,100. He might be one of the lower fighters of that top tier that who may pay off. Next up, we have a scrappy affair between Peter Yan against John Dodson. John Dodson at 6,900, the plus 260 underdog. Peter Yan hovering around minus 300 right now. Peter Yan, one of the highest priced fighters on the card at 9,300. It depends on what Dodson wants to do. If he wants to come in and engage, we might have a fight on our hands. If not, Peter Yan is going to be in hot pursuit, and he's going to be chasing John Dodson all over the octagon. I think he will make Dodson pay at some point in the fight, but I don't see him paying off that $9,300 price tag. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 285. Next up, very interesting fight where we have people on both sides of the fence. We've got the women's 125-pound division. Lucy Pudilova is taking on Liz Carmouche. Lucy Pudilova, earlier in the week, I've slowly fallen in love with her output. She has really shown us who she is as far as being a gritty fighter, having a mean streak, bringing the fight to her opponents. The problem is we haven't seen her fight off of her back. We also, at least I don't think she possesses any quality takedown defense. Carmouche, one of the strongest fighters in the 125-pound division. She was one of the strongest fighters in the 135-pound division. She has a win over Jessica Andrade. Liz Carmouche, I'm actually going to pick Carmouche to win this fight. I think she's going to get the takedowns that she needs. She seems like her head's screwed on straight for this fight. She knows what she has to do. She can't play on the feet with Pudilova. But if Pudilova comes in here and somehow manages to stop these takedowns, gets up, has a ref, that's the other piece of the puzzle. I want to know who's reffing this fight, because if it's someone who is apt to quickly stand fighters up, then Pudilova has a better shot here. But I think the odds are correct. Carmouche should be the favorite, and I expect her to pull out the victory. Next up, we have Michael Oleksiejczuk at 8,900 in the men's light heavyweight division, taking on Gian Villante. Gian Villante, Long Islander, who fights exactly the same way in every one of his fights. Low output, tough guy, great takedown defense. Doesn't have that sense of urgency. I feel like he just doesn't want to gas himself out. When he does gas himself out, he usually gets finished. This fight, I do expect it to go to a decision. I'd suggest the same. I don't see Oleksiejczuk paying off his $8,900 price tag. For a punt, Villante may put up some points. He should survive the fight, but he's a fighter who's not going to throw punches in bunches, and you don't get the grappling points with him either. So just watch out. Next up, interesting fight where the line has actually flipped. We have in the men's heavyweight division, Stefan Struve, the skyscraper, against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. I saw Marcos Rogerio de Lima win his last fight at Madison Square Garden. He moved up to heavyweight and looked pretty good. Had a gas tank for all 3 rounds, got takedowns, leg kicks, closed the distance, reversals, etc. This time he's fighting a big heavyweight who we know doesn't use his length well. I've heard Struve in interviews say that if he brawls with De Lima, then he's an idiot. So I suspect he will try to fight smart, stay at range. This fight should not go the distance, but some strange feeling I have that this will go to a decision. Struve, I could see him locking up a submission here. De Lima, I could see him trying to chop down Struve's legs, get inside, land some power shots. I'm actually going to pick Struve to it's not really an upset now. He's the favorite, so I'm going to pick Struve in this spot, but to win a boring decision. Then we have the main event of the evening. By the way, backtrack a minute. Struve at 7,800 on DraftKings. I think with the odds shifting, we will see a bump in his ownership. De Lima, 8,400. You gotta look at where he's at and what kind of output you expect him to put up. If Robertson gets a sub, then she could be on that optimal lineup. If De Lima gets a finish, he could end up there. And then Santos, of course, we know he could break the DraftKings scoring system with his output in the first round. Let's get to that main event. We've got Jan Blachowicz against Thiago Marreta Santos. The line has actually flipped on this a couple of times. Santos at 8,500. should, I think, come in as the lower owned fighter. Blachowicz at 7,700 gives you more room for lineup construction. Blachowicz should win this fight if it goes later, but I don't think it will, because look at those odds of it not going the distance, about minus 485, minus 500 or so. Dangerous fight. I've been on the fence all week. You could flip a coin and decide the winner of this fight as far as I'm concerned. The thing that has concerned me is Blachowicz. He has to know exactly what's coming, right? Is he going to try to be the counter striker? Is he going to try to lead the dance? I don't see him leading the dance. Santos is hell on wheels. He does not stop. In the Jimmy Manuwa fight, he just was throwing the kitchen sink at they were throwing the kitchen sink at each other, and it happens so often. Who's going to get caught first? But Blachowicz has a chin on him. I'm actually going to pick him to. It's considered an upset at this stage in the game, but I'm going to see what Jen has in store for us. I'm going to pick him to win by stoppage. Let's say late first round. Should be a hell of an event. Burn through this card here. A couple of things to think about when you're constructing World Cup lineups as well as other contests. Do you want to play it smart, try to be a little too cute, and or do you want to let your opponents make mistakes? Got to really consider strategy here. It's something I've been thinking about. So I'm ready, and I hope you are as well. Let's get this, folks. Mike's MMA Picks. You can follow me on Capper Tech as well as betmma.tips. Hope everybody has a wonderful day. Enjoy the early card, and we'll see you next week at UFC 235. Over and out.